Being outdoors actually inspires my work in an immense way. I get a lot of the color palettes that I do for the illustrations that I make from the outdoors. Nature has its colors and you bring it into the pages and it makes it feel more real and more alive in a certain way. My name is Monica Paola Rodriguez. I'm a freelance illustrator in Puerto Rico and also storyteller. A lot of the artworks I do, whenever it's referencing to someone's house, especially someone from Puerto Rico, I use a lot of decorations from my grandparents' house because it's what usually traditional people have in their houses. Like for instance, vejigantes. Vejigantes are actually characters for like festivals that they use a lot around here. They derived a lot from the Spanish conquistadors. However, it adapted a lot of the social culture here in Puerto Rico, so it adapted elements from the Taino, the African culture. Originally, it wasn't as colorful, now it's extremely vibrant. I had the privilege of being able to study in Lacoste, France. Over there, I took a bookmaking class and I decided to make my own children's book.
Fue inspirado por el Seren en Francia, en Lacoste, donde nos estábamos quedando para el curso allí de la universidad. Esto es literalmente donde nos estábamos quedando. El puente y todo esto era la ciudad. Y esto era un que le cogí una foto de usarla de referencia, un panorámico, para dibujarlo.
I always had this idea. It's called The Boy Made of Paint. And it was this idea that this boy will come into a town that is completely black and white, or in this version is sepia color. I actually use coffee to color the backgrounds and make it all look very sepia. And this boy will come into this town and notice like, oh, everybody's sad and let me help them out. And he will give up his paint in order to color his town. But he didn't notice that the more paint he gave, the less he will have. And so he started discoloring himself just the more he gave. And in the end, like everybody was colorful, but he was an old man with only paint in his finger. When I was a kid, there wasn't a variety of princesses. There were Pocahontas, Esmeralda, there were also Mulan. But I noticed that I'm like, oh, I'm not part of that culture, so I cannot see myself in them. We all have completely different skin tones. Not everybody looks exactly the same way. Everybody has slightly different hair colors. Everybody is extremely colorful. And so I want to be able to show what I didn't see as a kid. I actually got contacted directly with Disney because they saw my artwork online and they were like, hey, we believe you would be a great match for this project. The first thing I did was send it to my agent saying like, is this real and not a spam? I'm a massive fan of Spider-Man, and being able to do a book about representation of Spider-Man as a Puerto Rican, I'm like, yeah, that is the best thing ever. The book entails mainly Miles Morales finding his artistic side through his mom's side of the culture. The team trusted me to know all the elements that are supposed to be seen as a Puerto Rican. It's not just the perspective of someone in New York, but also all the elements that people in New York and Puerto Rico can relate to. Because we're all connected to the same base, but all the experiences of New Yorkers are not going to be exactly the same as the Puerto Ricans. So it's trying to find that balance of representation in the book. And it was so much fun. Oh, and there's a flamboyant. This is also a traditional tree in Puerto Rico. It's filled with really vibrant red flowers. It's similar to the cherry blossom. Kitchen scenes are my favorites. I grew up with my grandma. She's always cooking. A lot of the decor in general And a lot of tiny little details can be added, making feel like a Puerto Rican makes the food here. This is a special place. She's making mofongo. Mashed plantains, you put in ajo, which is garlic, and you fry it. And then you put in whatever protein you want or vegetables on top of it, and it tastes amazing. As a Puerto Rican, it's exciting to see we can also be superheroes. And the fact that I contributed to part of that, I'm getting a little bit emotional because like the first time I heard it, I just put in the soundtrack 24/7 just to get in the zone of Spider-Man. In the book, he is an artist illustrating based on his culture, so I saw myself doing that as well. A lot of people like to be set up in one place. For me, I learned that I become more productive if I'm moving around. When I came back, it was the same year as Hurricane Maria, so a couple months later, the hurricane hit.
And good morning, everyone. 6:31 on the East Coast. Hurricane Maria has made landfall on Puerto Rico.
And this is the scene in Puerto Rico right now.
We're still feeling the effects of the Hurricane Maria. Blackouts have diminished throughout time, but even after almost a decade, we still have to deal with power outages. It was not easy, but I think one of the interesting parts is that it brought us all together as a community. One of the interesting things about seeking Shanti is that even when you lose something that's so close to you, you still have that community and family with you. Better Shelter actually was the one who were funding the book because they actually create shelters for people who are impacted in flooding, like temporary shelters, so that way they have a place to stay and or while their homes are either refixed or rebuilt or they had to relocate. And so in the book, we have all kinds of perspectives of the people who have been through natural disasters. Any sort of representation or topic is somehow going to be political in a certain amount of way, especially when it comes to my industry, where it's mostly children's book illustration. The issue with a lot of people that make it political is that they over-stereotype a certain family value. And so when it comes to illustrating it, it's incorporating as a way that it has always been family-friendly. Some kids have two dads, some kids have two moms, some kids just have one mom. Some kids, like me, I had loving divorced parents and then my grandparents who would take care of me. Like, I had a blessing to have a great family, and every kid with families deserves to be seen. Something I also hope for the future is that people being open to educate themselves from other cultures and not see that as a threat instead of a welcoming invitation to learning new things, to learning different lives, to learning experiences from people from different ages, which is a lot of what the artwork that I make entails.